Welcome back to the Global Business Report on Arise News. Nigeria's former Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Dr Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has been nominated by President Buhari to be the next Director General of the World Trade Organization. The position opens up at a volatile time for the global economy as the world deals with a global pandemic that has affected global supply chains, growing trade tensions between the United States and China, and the hostile attitude of U.S. President Donald Trump towards the multilateral system of the WTO. Now, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala recently spoke to the BBC and touched on a number of issues, chief of which, what would she do if she was chosen for the position? Let's take a look at a few things that were discussed here. First of all, she is a key figure on the corporate international stage. Look at that resume. She's on the board of Standard Chartered Bank, which is a global multinational financial services company. She's also on the board of Twitter. Of course, you can see the prominence of social media in today's day and age. And she's also on the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization. That, of course, is backed by the second richest man in the world, Bill Gates. So there's financial services experience. There is, of course, social media and tech. And then, of course, a very important board seat on the Global Alliance, Gavi. And Arise News has covered a number of press releases and talks that Gavi has had because of course, we're facing a pandemic. So uniquely experienced in that matter with regards to her presence on the corporate international stage. Let's look at the gentleman that she is replacing, Roberto Azevedo, who is from Brazil. He, of course, was assumed the Director General position September the 1st of 2013. He's leaving the position a year early. He was asked why, and he said it was due to personal reasons. But the key thing here is that he says the 1 year gap between when he leaves and, of course, the next person takes over is very crucial because he says that whoever is picked as the new person to come into the position as Director General of the World Trade Organization has to use that year to get their feet wet because, my oh my, there are a whole lot of issues that the new person, whoever takes up that position, will be taking. And one of which, of course, is President Donald Trump. Before we get to that, we have to, of course, get to the key issue of what exactly qualifies Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala for this position and what a resume. First of all, Chief here, 30 plus years of negotiations. And she's done this for a country. She mentioned this in her interview. I mean, you can take your pick of any number of issues we've discussed on the Global Business Report on Arise News. We just talked a few minutes ago with Michael Wilson about the digital tax negotiations going on between the U.S., France, Britain, Spain, and so on. There's negotiations there. What are oil prices? The issues between OPEC Plus, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. That's negotiations. What about Brexit going on between the U.K. and the EU? The video conferencing meeting that took place between Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the EU. Negotiations everywhere. So what Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala brings to the table is a very necessary skill with regards to what the World Trade Organization is going to be doing with a number of its members, as well as keeping in place the multilateral trade system that it has. Also, 25 plus years at the World Bank as a developmental economist, working with emerging market economies, issues of debt, issues of foreign exchange shocks, issues of a number of things there. Also working with developed economies as well. Key thing as well, reputation as a strong reformer. She mentioned her time in Nigeria, a country that, of course, is very much needs a lot of reforms. She mentioned the reforms that she brought to the nation. And in fact, she also mentioned that the WTO actually needs reforms in order to make it relevant, because as we know, there are a number of bilateral trade negotiations that are going on between a number of countries. And then we have to now look at the issues that she's going to face should she be picked for this position, chief of which is these two gentlemen right here, U.S. President Donald Trump and President Xi Jinping of China. She was asked, how are you going to address these issues between these two countries? And she said it is very important to be a good listener. And then she went on in the same interview to say, okay, what are she painted a scenario. What are the concerns, of course, of how she would approach things? What are the concerns of the USA? What are the concerns of China? And then she pulled in Europe, Asia, also pulled in Africa. What are the concerns of these members of the WTO? She said, of course, she would bring all of them to the table around common interests, which is trade. And then she would build trust among those common interests. Now, I should also mention that U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, who from the U.S., said that the WTO is a, quote, a mess. And then Donald Trump and himself also said that they plan to push the reset button on the WTO. So if she is picked for the position, it's going to be pretty challenging. She says, of course, that she relishes the challenge based on her experience. So we'll see how that goes. She also does have some competition coming from, I believe, Egypt and Kenya, some other countries, and I think Mexico as well. So September is when the decision will be made as to who is going to replace Roberto Azevedo, and we'll see if she gets it. She definitely is qualified.